Hi, I'm Wade Hansen with Remax Results, and this is your second quarter 2025 real estate market update. I'm often asked, hey, Wade, how's the real estate market? And I saw kind of a funny, reel it was on Instagram the other day. And a lot of agents are describing the real estate market as buyers think it's 2008, sellers think it's 2021, and agents think they're on a Netflix series like Selling Sunset.
If I sell something over 40, I'll ring the bell.
How about if you date someone over 40?
And let me expand on that a little bit before I get into real numbers in the real estate market here locally. Buyers right now think the real estate market is going to crash. We've just gone through some really heavy volatility in the stock market. Every time you turn on the news, the current administration is throwing a right hook at somebody. We're seeing the tariff war going on right now. So buyers think that that's going to ultimately trickle down into the real estate market. And will the real estate market crash? Who knows? Honestly, I'm probably one of the only agents out there that actually hopes for a correction in the real estate market. Frankly, right now, home affordability is in a terrible spot. I always tell people that one of three things has to happen right now in order for this next generation of buyers to afford a home. One, they either have to see home prices soften. Two, they have to see interest rates come down. Or three, the average wage has to go up. So it's either going to be a combination of those three things, or one of those three things has to give right now in order for this next generation of home buyers to afford homes. That's my professional opinion, and I think a price correction is actually needed right now. I was just spent 10 days in Florida, and I know in their market, from what I could gather, they're seeing prices come down a little bit. Their days on market is in the 4 to 6 months range, and I've seen, from what I could tell, home prices are coming down about 15 to 25% in some areas. Now, they have other things like hurricanes that have affected home prices and buyer demand in that area, but you know, as I mentioned, buyers right now just have this feeling that home prices are going to come down and the real estate market's going to crash. The reality is nobody knows. I don't know. As much as I want to see some sort of softening and price correction in our local market, I don't believe our current administration will allow that to happen on their watch. And what I mean by that is their ego is so big, they don't want to see home prices or the real estate economy soften on their terms, on their watch. So as much as I want to see some correction happen in the home pricing, I don't think it's going to happen. In fact, I think the second half of this year could potentially be busier than the first half if the current administration continues to put pressure on the Fed to reduce interest rates. So as I mentioned, although buyers think it's going to crash, I don't think it's going to crash. Now, sellers think it's 2021. So what I mean by that is sellers think that we can go back to the COVID market of 2021, where you could virtually put a price on your home and get into a bidding war overnight, and the sky was the limit on what your home was worth. We're not in that market anymore. We are in a very, very price-sensitive real estate market. The biggest mistake I see sellers making right now in the current real estate market is overpricing their home and hoping to get a price that just simply is not attainable in today's market, only because they saw their neighbor get that price 3 or 4 years ago. We're not in that market anymore. We're in what I'm going to call more of a normal real estate market where you have to price your home correctly. I want to expand on pricing a little bit right now and talk about, I think, the best strategy when it comes to pricing a home. In my professional opinion, I don't think you can underprice a home. And here's what I mean by that. I'm suggesting to my clients, and let me give you an example. I recently went on a market analysis and a listing appointment with this particular client, interviewed 3 agents. Of the 3 agents, I came in the lowest. I thought their home would sell somewhere between $770 and $775. Most of the other agents were coming in around $775 to $785. And my actual suggested price was $750. And they looked at me and said, well, Wade, why would you suggest a price lower than what you think our home is worth? Well, a number of reasons. Number one, when buyers search online, it's important to price your home so that you're going to capitalize and capture the most amount of buyers. So by pricing it at $750 rather than $769, $775, $785, whatever that number is, at $750, you're getting the buyers looking from $7 to $750. and $750,000 to $800,000. So you're getting buyers that are looking in that chunk of $700,000 to $800,000. And by pricing it even at $759,000 or $769,000, you're missing out on those buyers that are searching from $700,000 to $750,000. So it's really important to position your home so that you're capturing the most number of eyeballs online. So we did that. They followed my advice. And at the end of the day, they actually sold for a little over $800,000. So they sold for way over what any of the 3 agents that came in thought it would sell for based on this strategy. Well, they ended up going into multiple offers. They received something like 10 offers. They got the closing date they wanted. They got an inspection waiver. They got an appraisal waiver. They were able to check boxes way beyond what they thought they would get, purely because it became more of an emotional transaction for the buyer. And once a buyer starts making decisions based on emotions, the seller's going to win. So as a seller, it's very important right now in this current market to not get caught up in what was during the COVID pandemic as far as pricing, and be more focused on what is today and price your home aggressively. I think you should be pricing your home where it'll sell somewhere between 99% and 102% of that price. It sounds a little bit backwards, but based on the low supply and the current demand, if you price your home aggressively, you're going to net more money and you're going to have more control during negotiations. And the third part of that was agents think that we're on a Netflix series like Selling Sunset, right? So everybody thinks, well, I've got to create this Instagram account and I got to become some sort of social media influencer. And I don't know how we decided to go down this path of becoming social media influencers. We are realtors and we are hired to, 1, solve problems for buyers and sellers, 2, market and sell homes for sellers, and 3, negotiate contracts. We are not social media influencers, and the number of followers we have on Instagram has no bearing on your ability to sell your home. There's an agent in the metro, and I'm not going to name names, that wants to say, hey, I've got 10,000 followers on Instagram and I'm going to get more money for your home because of my 10,000 followers on Instagram. Well, let me let you in on a little secret. Nobody starts their property search on Instagram. 98 to 99% of buyers right now start their search on Zillow. Zillow's the monster in the real estate industry. That's where they're starting their property search. So by doing some funny, quirky video or standing in front of a house and saying, hi, I'm Wade Hanson, welcome to 123 Elm Street, it's going to have no benefit to you as a seller, none whatsoever. There's no statistic, there's no data, there's nothing that says this is going to help you sell your home faster and for more money. The majority of those Instagram, if they've got 10,000 Instagram followers, the majority are paid. And the other half aren't even looking for homes. These Instagram accounts and these social media influencers and these people that are trying to show you what they do on a daily basis in the real estate industry are doing this to build their brand, not to sell your home. You won't find me walking you through one of my homes or standing in front of one of my homes. In fact, I don't even care if you want to put a sign in front of your home. I don't need to build my brand based on your product. You're hiring me to sell your product, to maximize your home's value, sell it as quickly as possible with the least amount of pain. And me trying to promote myself in front of your home on Facebook or Instagram is not something that's going to benefit you as a seller. So, you know, as I mentioned right now, sellers think it's 2021, buyers think it's 2008, and agents think they're social media influencers or on a series on Netflix. So the reality is right now, the real estate market is the real estate market. The market is the market. It is what it is. We are no longer in a want market. We're in a need market. People don't want to buy and sell homes right now. They need to buy and sell homes. So if a home's on the market, they need to sell. It's not just trying to get a price. Some basic statistics that I'm seeing right now and some market insights that I'll give you based on first quarter, and the second quarter statistics haven't come out yet. And I expect these to be even better. But right now we're seeing about homes in the Twin Cities metro area sell for about 98% of list price. It's about 98.5 to be exact. Again, some of that has come down a little bit year over year, only because of agents, I think, getting a little bit too aggressive on pricing homes and not being familiar with what's happening in the current real estate market, and that you can no longer do what we did 2 or 3 years ago. Showings right now, the showing activity, although it's the spring market, the showing activity is pretty flat year over year. We're up about 5% in the greater Twin Cities metro area. New listings, we expected inventory to maybe bounce a little bit and come up. Unfortunately, new listings are only up about 10%. So we're not seeing a huge dramatic change in listing inventory right now. And closed sales, that's flat as well. We're up about 6% closed sales throughout the greater Twin Cities metro. The one interesting thing that I'm seeing in my personal market right now is the luxury market. The luxury market is performing very, very well for me in my market. And frankly, there's no economic indicators right now that says the luxury market should be performing the way it's performing. Like I mentioned, the stock market's been squirrely. I think the entire country's just kind of on edge and uncertain. We're only about 120 days into this new administration, and there's been so much backlash and media reports on what's happening and what could happen and how this could affect you and everybody else. I have no reason to believe that the real estate market or luxury real estate market should be as busy and as active as it is. But all of my listings priced over $1 million in my market, all but one of the listings I've taken this year have sold in less than 10 days, and the majority of those have sold for over asking price. And it's crazy to me. I'm not sure if folks are pulling money out of the stock market because of the volatility of the stock market and investing it into an asset like real estate. There's really no rhyme or reason right now that we're seeing that would indicate or tell us why the luxury market is performing the way it is. The one big factor or the one big number that I've seen coming off the first quarter of this year that has changed compared to maybe 3 or 4 years ago is almost half of all sales have the sellers contributing towards the buyer's closing costs. And what does that mean? Well, that means that they're maybe paying discount points, they're paying loan origination fees, maybe paying their buyer's agent commission, but almost half of all transactions have the sellers paying some form of the buyer's agent's closing costs. And that could be anywhere from $1,000 to as much as 3% of the sale price, depending on the transaction. Now, the one thing that has changed quite a bit, and I think is good for the overall real estate economy, is the average days on market is actually around 60 days on market right now. During the COVID pandemic, we were around 6 days on the market. So we're getting more towards a balanced market. Statistically, they say about a 4 to 6 months inventory or days on market for about 120 to 180 days is a balanced market. Personally, I think it's about a 90 to 120 day cycle is what would be considered a balanced market. But right now we're at about a 60-day supply of homes, and I see that continuing to tick up as we progress into the second half of 2025. Statistically, 30% of homes in the local real estate market sold over asking price. I will tell you, this isn't to impress you, but to impress upon you my pricing strategy. 100% of my homes have sold for over asking price. And the majority of those folks had to pay a lower buyer's agent compensation. They did not have to pay closing costs. As we mentioned before, half of all sellers in the Twin Cities had to pay closing costs. None of my sellers had to pay closing costs. And I'm saving sellers right now on average about $15,000 when it comes to a buyer's agent compensation. So there's a lot of savings beyond the surface when it comes to pricing a home properly that can really benefit you when we're getting multiple offers on a property. So really right now, I think the motto of if your home's not compelling, it's not selling, is something you really need to lean into when it comes to the current real estate market. We're in a very price sensitive market. Buyers are more educated than ever before. Buyers have a lot of information, a lot of data at their fingertips now, and they're very smart when it comes to making buying decisions. And although, we can get into some of these bidding war situations on certain properties, I'm seeing, as I'm showing my buyers, I'm seeing them have this data and this information before I'm even able to start discussing it with them, and they'll know some data points that perhaps I wasn't even prepared to discuss with them. And they're right. It's not that hard to find now. You can do your market research and see what homes are selling for, price per square foot, certain builders versus other builders, certain neighborhoods versus other neighborhoods. It's very easy to find that information now, so it's very hard to fool a buyer and pull wool over their eyes by pricing your home at a price that you just want to get for the sake of wanting to get a price. So the last piece of the market that I think has surprised a lot of folks this spring is the fact that interest rates haven't come down like they expected them to. Even I expected rates to come down a little bit. And as I mentioned before, the current administration is putting a lot of pressure on the Fed to bring rates down. And they think that they're frankly waiting too long to do that. I'm not sure I disagree with the Fed's decision right now to keep rates where they're at. I think it's actually creating more of a balanced market. We're allowing inventory to pick up a little bit. Buyer demand maybe didn't get quite as strong as we wanted it to this spring, and I think that's okay. I do think, whether that's the second half of this year or the first half of next year, the Fed will eventually give in and bring those rates down. Now, look, there's a lot of other things that could happen in the economy that could affect that decision. But if things keep going the way they're going right now, my professional opinion is they will come down at some point in the next 6 to 12 months. Now, it's a pretty safe bet. The question is, how much will they come down? And should I wait because they're going to come down so much it will help affordability of homes? Well, as you know, when rates come down, home prices go up and more buyers come out of the woodwork and start bidding on homes. So you'll likely have the same monthly payment as you would today. The $600,000 house at 7% will become a $650,000 house at 6%, and you'll be paying the same amount monthly in the future as you would today if rates do come down. So nobody really knows. I think we need to get beyond the whole, where will rates be? Should I buy now and refinance later? Just buy now knowing this is your mortgage payment and this is the worst and the highest you're going to pay for your home ever. If rates do come down, great, you can refinance. If they go up, you're in a position where this is your mortgage payment and it's the worst you're ever going to pay. So if you're one of these consumers that's trying to decide between buying and renting in 2025 and what's best for you and what's best for your overall financial picture, I'm maybe one of the agents that is a little bit backwards on this. I will say that renting is always a good option. There's a lot of agents out there that will say you should never ever rent and you should always buy. By renting, you're just paying off somebody else's mortgage. Yeah, there's some truth to that. But if you're somebody that's really on a very fixed month-to-month budget, renting also puts you in a position where you're not having to worry about unexpected issues that may arise with your home. If your furnace goes out, your air conditioner goes out, you've got to put in new roof, you've got to put in some new windows, you've got to do things that are going to take you out of that month-to-month financial box and put you in a position where you just don't have the cash reserves to make some of those improvements. I think renting's a good option. You can just pick up the phone and call your landlord and they'll fix those things. So it costs you nothing more than a phone call versus, maybe $10,000 to $20,000 if you've got to put in a new furnace and air conditioner. So I think renting is a viable option. And I think if this is something that you're kind of torn between, it's really important for you to just have a conversation with an agent like myself that isn't going to push you one way or the other. That's just going to have a very real conversation with you about this is the benefit of renting, this is the benefit of buying, and you can make a good informed decision on what's best for you in today's current real estate climate.